This is Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon, the podcast.
Lots of folks listening to this show, some are saying, well, I don't retire for like a few years. Everything's fine. I'll get to it when I get to it. Then you have folks going, I already have an advisor. I don't need to sit down with David. What are your thoughts on these two different approaches here?
It's never too early to start making better financial decisions. I mean, there are a lot of things. When we talked a little bit earlier on the show about the wealth transfers that occur and for so many folks because they're making financial decisions that are not helping them but hurting them. And this is one of the things that's so important for us to identify is there's a lot of wealth that slips through our fingers. So if you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years away or longer, the sooner you find the wealth transfers that might be occurring, the better your long-term financial gains will be with good planning and oversight. And a lot of people do reach out to us 3, 4, 5 years before they retire, but had they done so 10 years earlier, their tax planning strategy would have been much more robust. They would have more time on their side to compound the benefits of good planning. And we can quantify the difference between what somebody might be currently doing with the money to what a strategic plan might look like, especially with tax planning. So if somebody's thinking, well, maybe I'll reach out to an advisor a few years before retirement, no, sooner the better. Because if there's something wrong that's hurting you, when do you want to know? As soon as possible, right?
Absolutely.
And you want to fix that. So it's just like your health. You know, you might not be feeling so good right now, but you keep pushing it off and things get worse and things get worse. And then you finally realize, let's go get a diagnosis, see if there's anything going on. And then you go to your doctor and all of a sudden you got late stage cancer. And had you done that diagnosis 6 months earlier, they might have been able to take better care of you and cure the illness. Same thing with money. The longer you go without finding better solutions, and you may not even know that you need better solutions until we find those things that are in your blind spot that hurt you financially. That's where the light bulb goes off. Then you see the opportunities that could be rectified or magnified, I should say, from things that you might be doing that could hurt you down the road. The sooner you know, the better we can employ the right financial strategies, and the results just get better going forward. And you have confidence and clarity as to what things will be like when you do retire. Because people are working on a plan of hope. And when I say that, it's people work hard. They save into the retirement plans. They don't have a financial plan, but they save. And then when they retire, they hope for the best. And too often I've seen people follow that path, and then 10 years into retirement, things haven't worked out so well. Now they got to make significant lifestyle changes because they made some costly mistakes and they just don't have the resources to live the lifestyle that they wanted to or envisioned. So the faster you figure out what you're doing, and some people might be okay. And the people I see that are willing to take retirement blindly are the ones that have a lot of money. They're in their comfort zone of what they're doing with their money. But we could show them some costly mistakes they're making, but in some folks' minds, they feel I could lose half of my money in the market. I'm still going to be okay. That's fine. I see that occasionally.
Yikes. That doesn't sound good to me.
Yeah,
it puts me in a panic.
But some people are stuck in their ways. They have their own comfort zone. I don't care how good we can show them on building a plan and doubling their wealth and paying less in taxes. Some people have a hard time to change, and that's fine. So any case, if anybody is really wanting to look at their current situation and get some oversight, some better clarity, and whether in fact they have wealth transfers occurring in their blind spot, give us a call. Let us have that opportunity to take a look at your situation and see. Maybe there's some benefits to implementing some different planning ideas that you may not take advantage of today.
Exactly. Call right now and ask about that Mastering Your Retirement Review. Again, this is where David will sit down with you and show you exactly how much monthly income your savings can produce. There's no cost, no obligation, guys. Just that 4-letter word. Get that plan today. Again, 203-872-0009. 203-872-0009. That website, of course, masteringyourwealthradio.com. You want to hear a voice of someone who sounds like he's trapped? Here's a scene from the 80s and 90s TV show The Wonder Years, where the dad, played by actor Dan Lauria, he regrets the rat race. Listen to this.
I get up at 5 in the morning. I fight traffic. I bust my hump all day. I fight traffic again. And I come home. Then I pay my taxes. The end.
And I think a lot of us can relate with that. I get up, I fight traffic, I do the thing, I fight traffic, I get home, and at the end of the day, I write a check to Uncle Sam. So paying your taxes obviously is no guarantee that they won't trap you later, David. So what are some of the most common tax traps that you see in retirement? And most importantly, how can you help people avoid them?
There's several tax traps in retirement, and many of them surprise people because they're all connected. The first is assuming your Social Security is tax-free. Depending on your combined income, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be subject to federal tax. And many retirees do not realize that IRA withdrawals, your pension money, wages, interest, dividends, capital gains, they all affect how your Social Security is taxed. And the second trap is having all your money in tax-deferred accounts. We see this quite often. Whether it's your IRAs, 401ks, they're valuable, but every withdrawal is generally taxable. And if that is your only source of retirement savings, you have less control over your taxable income. Now, the third trap are required minimum distributions. Can force taxable income whether you need the money or not. And large RMDs can push retirees into higher tax brackets and cause your Medicare Part B premiums to go up. And folks, not only IRAs and 401ks, but if they have a pension, we deal with a lot of federal employees. And most, when they retire, don't even touch their TSPs. And what we show them when we do their planning is what the required minimum distribution problems will look like in the future, because all they've allowed those TSPs to do is compound into a future point in time. And when you compound the pre-tax retirement account, you're compounding your tax expense along the way, because it's not what you just put in that's going to compound and the taxes along with those dollars, it's the earnings on top of that as well. And when we show folks what the RMD problem will cause in retirement when they have to take it out, whether it's 73 or 75, they're creeping up into higher tax rates over their lifetime, exposing their other sources of income to higher tax costs. Their Medicare Part B premiums are high forever. I just worked on a federal couple. They were both federal employees. And they're only 59 and 61. Mm-hmm. And when we looked at what their RMDs were going to do to their tax return, because they were both going to live on pensions, they both have Social Security, which were substantial. Their pensions, because they had worked so many years for the federal government, their RMD, I asked them if they understood what an RMD was. And they weren't quite sure. And I said, well, I did a conservative calculation to kind of give you an indication as to what your minimum distribution would be with just a conservative growth on your money at age 75, because they weren't going to need the money. It started at their age 75 at $600,000 a year. That's their minimum requirement. At that point in their life, because their pension and their Social Security both have cost of living adjustments, even at that point in their life, they weren't going to need the money. And that was going to have an impact of a return that they were going to have roughly $1 million or more of gross income to pay taxes on, which included the RMD, and growing. And so, lo and behold, they wanted to figure out, all right, what can we do differently? What kind of tax planning can we do? So we're working on that case right now. And there's some great opportunities of what we can do, especially for a wealth transfer. They wanted to really maximize those resources to benefit their children. And when we went through the initial analysis, they'll be able to double their estate with the planning that we're going to do for them tax-free.
Oh, wow, that's huge. That is huge.
And so, obviously we're going to have to restructure their retirement accounts, but the end result's going to be very good. Now, tax planning is critical, and I think people keep deferring their taxes instead of planning for the future to mitigate taxes. And we always talk about doing a forward-looking tax plan. And what we do is a snapshot. If you do nothing differently, we can take your tax return and your resources and kind of see what your tax bill is going to look like. And then we can start looking at the different tax strategies, depending on what your long-range objectives are, can be to be more tax efficient, mitigate future taxes, because Right now we're at relatively low tax rate environment, and I don't think this is going to stay around forever. Taxes are on sale. So if you have to restructure your tax strategy and be more tax diversified, that means you're going to have to pay tax on some of the money today to put those dollars in a more tax advantage plan. But when we look at the unfunded liabilities that our government's on the hook for and a debt that they can't seem to pay off, it just keeps growing. If you go to, there's a website, truthandaccounting.org. If you understand the numbers there, it's pretty scary as to the future benefits that our government is on the hook to pay, which is Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, government pensions, and some other things. A little while back, about a month or so ago, when I looked at that, that was $145 trillion of future benefits. Now, they can't even pay our debt on the balance sheet. So what's the solution? It's all in the numbers. You have to raise revenues, and the revenues to the government are your taxes. It's all in the numbers. You have to raise revenues, and the revenues to the government are your taxes, and cut spending. Those are your benefits. And they have to do a dramatic change in both of those areas to keep things afloat and be able to pay some benefits out. Well, the folks with the money, especially in retirement accounts, are going to be the biggest target when taxes have to go up in a substantial way. So if you're listening and you've amassed quite a bit of money in your pre-tax retirement accounts or any taxable investment, planning's crucial, I think, right now to take advantage of taxes while they're on sale, to restructure your tax planning and put your money in places that aren't going to be so vulnerable when the government decides, oh, we got a real big problem, we're going to finally try to come up with a solution. Guess what? Your taxes are going up, and it's going to be a lot. Right. Don't be complacent about your tax plan or lack thereof.
Absolutely. Complacency essentially is the enemy of growth, right? So you want to make sure that you're being proactive today. Here's the deal. Taxes can eat 20, 25, even 30% of your retirement if you have not planned for it, right? You need that tax plan in place. Again, all part of that Mastering Your Retirement review. That phone number, 203-872-0009. 203-872-0009. That website, masteringyourwealthradio.com. As we get older, there are certain moments in life where you just realize something has changed. I mean, not necessarily in a bad way, just, your priorities aren't the same as they used to be. Here's comedian Sheng Wong.
But sometimes you do things you thought you would never, ever do. I recently bought pants from Costco.
Let me restart that, sorry.
But sometimes you do things you thought you would never, ever do. Like I recently bought pants from Costco. That's a big deal. That's a new chapter in your life, right? Because when you buy pants from Costco, that's when you don't care anymore. That's when we let go of our egos and we begin our spiritual journey. Because you hear people say stuff like, I'm not concerned about other people's opinions. I don't care about what they think. That is just talk until you back it up with the Costco pants purchase. That's how you let them know he for real. He don't give a damn for real. He wearing Kirkland pants. Don't mess with them.
Hating on Costco and Kirkland, man. I've felt myself in conversations going, oh my God, Costco has these type of sweatshirts on sale. I've caught myself in that kind of that realm of things. What about you, David?
Yeah, I can't remember last time I was in a Costco. We don't have one near where I live.
What?
And yeah, I mean, you can drive 30, 40 minutes without traffic. And yeah, when I lived closer to Costco years ago, I used to go there quite a bit, but I haven't been in one in a while. But I can understand what he's saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, when people start making decisions based on what actually works for them, how should that change their retirement plan? Because every action has a reaction, right?
Yeah, that is one of the most important shifts in retirement planning. During the working years, people often compare themselves to others. They ask, well, do I have enough compared to other people my age? And I get that question a lot. If I'm working with somebody at a certain age, they'll ask me, kind of, where do I fit in line with what you see with your clients? And some people are surprised to hear that they're well above the averages, and they like to hear that. And some people not so good, but a lot of people want to know if they've saved enough. Everybody's situation is different.
Right.
So somebody could have $1 million, and maybe they may not have saved enough because of their spending lifestyle. Somebody could have saved only $500,000, and they're more than sufficient for their lifetime. depending on what they might spend. They might spend a lot less, but maybe they have a pension and the person with $1 million doesn't. It makes a big difference as well. So a lot of people want to know how their investment portfolio is doing compared to most people. Everybody's situation is different, so it's hard to really put just a label on anybody at any certain age, how much you should have, how much you should spend, because our lifestyle is going to be priced differently for each one of us. A client with $750,000 in modest expenses might be in better shape than somebody with $2 million. I see that often because somebody with $2 million might have a boat. I can't tell you how many people I know with boats. I see them in the gym, and every so often they're coming in talking about a bigger boat they just bought. And I have clients with boats, and they never go to a smaller boat. They always go to a bigger one. And the
Can't go back, yeah.
And the expenses just get bigger and bigger. And at the beginning of a boater season, with the folks I know, they complain about the cost to put it in, and then the cost to take it out, and then the cost to store it. So I give them a hard time because most of the time they're sitting on the back of the boat at the marina because the gas is too expensive.
For more details or to sit down with David for your complimentary financial GPS, visit masteringyourwealthradio.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, BWA, a registered investment advisor and an affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and First Financial Planners are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BWA, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice and should not be relied on as such. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional.
Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims-paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone.
David Gagnon and First Financial Planners are not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.
Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure of the ADV 2A Item 4 for additional information.